All right, welcome everyone. I am testing tonight against Reanimator. We'll see if our new list how it does. Maybe we've given up too much margin, but Mike is ready, so I don't want to take up too much of his time. So I'll jump right in. Here's the list we'll be playing tonight. All right. Looks like I'll be going first. Um, Knowing that my opponent is on Reanimator, this is kind of a shaky keep. Because the bog is already in hand, but I think we just keep it anyways. He could have a. He doesn't know that we have bog. We'll play a fetch, a basic first. Hey, how's it going? How is it going? Long time, Ethan. Long time. Mm, I feel like we just ramp here. Given that the bog is in hand. I said unfortunate, but I think we just keep petty theft. Sure. I think we play the bog here because it doesn't matter. Like they either combo us here or they don't. Because if they don't, they lose. Anyways, because of natural order. We do need the mana, I guess. Depends who you ask. Uh, to me, I still play three. Uh, it there's a lot of lists I disagree with that play like one. are we doing here? I think we want the shepherd, personally. We'll pass. I don't think we want to know our hand. Shields are down. I don't think that matters. Hmm. What are we doing here? Awkward, like I said, that we I should have not cast a snuff out for what it's worth. Okay, that does the trick. Yeah. Hey Dukes, how's it going? Yeah, we just needed any creature there, right? Like our hand wasn't that great, but I don't think we. The thing is, like with our configuration, what are we molding to? We just have like good fair hands, pre-board. I don't. We can't just mold to like a 1 or 2 of endurance. Like just to me, that's just asking to lose to the fair hands. What do we want to do here? I don't like Wasteland this matchup because I feel like our lands are just better than theirs. I don't want to waste a turn just to waste them. Yeah, I mean this is the new Maverick, right? The way I built it, like, we got removal main deck now because I think it's good against almost everything in the format at the moment. Even against lands, you hit the Rumble token, uh, free removal. Like, I kind of feel like we're lucky. Like, we're the only deck that gets to play free removal. I don't think I'm doing anything different here. This is fine. Uh, Maybe not, but it's a 1 drop. Good question though. I think we keep, but it's a little dangerous. Um. Oh, they put an Atraxa. Jeez. I guess I have to seize them then, right? Thoughts will be seized. Okay, I think we probably lost now. This matchup is actually not very interesting. I feel like most often than not, if they don't turn to us, we win. If they turn to us, obviously we lose. I think that's mostly how this matchup plays out. The way I've built the deck, at least, or the way I play. We're not beating that. Just concede. This is for fun, anyways. So I'd rather like not waste time on a 1% or whatever. Cha-ching, we're in luck. This is a hell of a hand. This is a must days slash force if they have it. Like that resolved the game's over on the spot. And Mike's good enough player to know that. I see some weird gameplay from opponents where what's it called? They like kill my reclaimer instead of white. I don't know what they're doing, but we have the trap is set. Take the entomb. Mm, what are we doing here? Do we try to like stick the endurance here as well? Probably. And play around the well, I guess we can stick the endurance, play around the Murktide region. They had day they would have played it already on the white, right? Gargoyle, sure, no problem. Don't think we care. I don't think we care, quite frankly. Like he Murktides here, that's probably okay. Like we have Safekeeper. Like the game is like not really winnable for opponent. Actually, why did I tap out? I guess in theory they could have a kill here. Sure. think I'm gonna bash. Let's see what Mike does. Has to block, which is awkward. Question here is like, how do I want to do this? I can just kill the endurance, I guess. That's fine. I think we do this. We eat the graveyard first to shrink things. We don't care about the Tameo, actually. Let me ask Mike if he wants to run it back. Would you like to play first? No. Again, we have a hand where it's kind of a good fair hand. I think we just keep it. See what happens. Let's just see how much margin we actually have. F6. That's a very good top deck. F6. What we're hoping here is a wasteland from them, because we have 2 more lands in our hand. I think so too. I think it's incredible. Okay. I don't hate that. Playing Curator in today's is pretty bad there. And Green Sun, I'd rather save as a rather low query. Sure. Flip Tameo. Pretty good. We have the answer for Tameo too, for what it's worth. Like that's why Kenai is pretty good. Plus, sure. Take us off the bayou. That's fine. Turn late. Question mark here is like, are we going with the curator, or are we going with? If we go with curator, we can't leave mana up. I don't want them to waste the cradle. The spot like this where the grist in the deck would be helpful. Sure. We can't afford to play around removal here. Take the reanimate. We need to eat 3, which we can already. Question here is like, I think we play around removal because that's the only way we lose. And then we eat that in case they Murktide us. I think from this board state, it's unlosable. But we'll see. Yeah, like I said, I think from this board state, it's unlosable. Now, we get to exploit the fact that our opponent, or in general, Reanimator is light on removal, and that's why a card like Keen Eye is just insane game 1. Do we have too many cards? Okay, this looks correct now. I don't love, like I said, I don't love Wasteland the matchup. The first Nuff Out's probably fine. I don't like love it. Like I said, we're just trying to see how much margin we have in this matchup. Shepard not actually great in this matchup because the important cards need to come down before Shepard can, so it's a little awkward. And they probably should force your turn 1 play regardless. I mean, I guess it depends if they want to play for a late game or early game. I don't love it, but I think we have to keep. We're just gonna keep most hands. Let's just see how it goes. I think we're gonna lean in with turn 1 Dork here because we get rewarded for it. If they have the turn 2, like, so be it. Okay. Okay. It's pretty good. Question here is now. Do we ramp? Yeah, I think so. If they waste us again, that's pretty bad. think here we're probably now priced into C's. Brainstorm? Mm, I don't think the consign really does anything against us. Take the ponder. I wonder what he put back. That would be interesting. Okay. Oof. I'm punished here. I'm punished for not playing the Kenai. Sure. Maybe greedy of me not to do that. Probably greedy of me not to do that. The question is, do I have an answer to the Atraxa? I feel like the answer is no. And if that's the case, I think I've already lost. Yeah. Let's concede. I don't think there's an out. So yeah, the greedy play there was maybe maybe I should have played the Kenai. Sure. They have push after the Atraxa. I thought, but I could be wrong. I have to look. Yeah, they got the push after the Atraxa. Oof, my hand's bad. But the games are not too interesting. Like it's very linear the way this game plays out. Unfortunately, I think he has the kill. That's the only reason why they would take crop rotation here. Yeah, like I said, that's the only explanation for taking crop rotation. Now the Hail Mary play would be if we had a grist, right? What's going on here? Oh, okay. All right, I guess up to Mike if he wants to play more. All right, we'll play some more. See how it goes. So Mike will be on the play. I think we keep. So I'm seeing a problem game one. I think even though we won, we're on the play. I think we go this. They have more removal than they do permission. Ugh. He might have Bowmasters, which is kind of scary. I don't think we can attack into open mana. That's a hell of a draw. We'll just pass. The problem is we have no clock. But I guess neither does he. Murktide Regent. Pass, I guess. Okay. I think we just pass. Actually, I should have done that because now, like, Bowmasters is a thing. If he attacks me down, Yeah, that was a mistake on my behalf because 13 is not a good number. 14 is better because now we died to Bowmasters randomly. Hmm. Guess we attack. If they block, that's fine. We need to make up the ground here. If they have Bowmasters, we're losing anyways. That's the logic. Yeah, they ping me. Might need a Grist in the deck, but I don't know. We just kind of kept the whatever hand, and that's starting to bite us. Shepard looking not that great in this matchup, which we said at the beginning, but more true now than before. I think what I would like actually is instead the Shepard. Maybe we're just going in circles, but Kenai would be pretty nice. Okay, we're just dead. There's no out. Because the awkward thing is there's no out because we don't have a Grist in the deck. So maybe that's just deck building. Hmm. Let's see. So there, I would have liked to have a Grist because of situations like that. No stuff out. It looks very awful in this matchup so far. Sort of feels like we're going backwards by not having the. Well, ideally we would have more endurance main or something like that, or Grist main is probably okay too. But again, I don't think this matchup is like particularly entertaining. And it's possible our one drop count is too high, and we just need more action. So there's that. I would like not to be cheesed. Interesting. Coast is clear. They would have gone for it anyways. Okay, what is Bowmasters hitting here? Let me think. sure that matters though. We have a protected wild reliquary. What do we want here? Just probably a guy's cradle. Turn everything on. What do we do here? I don't think we attack. We'll pass. Hmm. What to do? What to do? We have black already, so I'm not concerned about that. This is a trap. Do we care? Maybe? We're gonna buy you, I guess. Well, we'll get that. We have a cradle in hand, so that's fine. And then pass turn. Yeah, we definitely need, I think, a Gris in this matchup because then we could just like kill the Bargoyf. Otherwise, we can't really attack. What do we care about here? This wipes out the fatal push. The problem is there's already 1, 2 creature spots. This would be a 4, 5. This is a 4, 5 right now. Sure, why not? 2 entombs and 1 reanimate. Reanimate. 'Oops. Do we care? I guess. It is fine. Not playing the best, admittedly, right now. Hey XJ, how's it going? Yeah, I think I'm noticing a problem. If we don't keep it in the natural order, we have a problem with beating the Bargoyf here. Now, the thing is, actually, let's do this. I guess we just start bashing. That's the other way, right? Like, we get to a point where I think they're just gonna have to trade with a lair. So that's the other thing. Did you discuss Mangu's list before the ELM? I don't know what you mean by that. So if he wants to attack with Bargorf right now in game 5, I think that's fine with me. So I think they can have that. And then this white is gonna hit hard next turn. Actually, this fairy is pretty good here. I'm not gonna play around 3 cards. All right, game 3. Yeah, I did. I did work with him. Yeah, Shepard has not looked very good. So that's the problem with running these kind of cards that like need other cards to be good. Um, I feel like we're just going in circles now. Well, that's not true. The Snuff Out main I think is like very good. Like outside of Reanimator, right? Gotta mold this hand. Oof. This hand lightens up a lot better if they go turn 1 Tamio. Ugh. Now this hand got like way worse. That's the problem with the Snuff Out, right? Okay, there's that. Their hand's now suddenly a lot worse too. Take their brainstorm. Must not have hit anything relevant. We're gonna slam this, and whatever happens, happens. Okay, days on the white. Kept on top. That's scary though. Hmm. You Knows my hand. I think we go for the kill here, right? Or the lock. That's like insanely good. Pass. I Yeah, let's just pass. See what he does. Three cards on top. Put Dossies. Sure. If you mark tides here, we have the snuff out backup. I think we start presenting a clock now. If he dazes this, that's fine with me. That's interesting. Oh, I see. Sure. So we got the old 2-for-1, I guess. Do we pass here? We can't kill everything, unfortunately. We just hold. I think we just hold here still. That's pretty good. The keen eye here is the relevant portion, I think, because it can outpace the Bargoyf. Question here is like, do they have an instant? I think we can just pass here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good one so far. What's going on here? Oops, cancel. I guess I will eat. The Thoughtseize. I am not. Well, actually, it's even, I guess. Pass. I'm tapped out for one turn because of my decision to not play the endurance earlier. think we do it here. And then the Keen Eye takes over the game. I mean, he could have a removal spell, but the Bargorth is like kind of annoying. I think we just pass now. Actually, they have a Murktide, but we have a Snuff Out, so it doesn't matter. I don't think we care. And then we just bash now. I think the game's now locked. I could be wrong, but it's just my impression. I think there was a window where we were vulnerable, and then we were able to navigate through it. So Mike's on the play now. We did not play the best there, but the deck carried. Just too many bad cards. This is why I don't play all the frills, right? Like you just draw them, it's just horrendous. I think Cradle's actually the worst card here. Uh, we need this for black. Maybe that. Because we draw another one. I think I want to just hit land drops. Uh, Endurance is pretty good here. I should have gone with my gut instinct, which is to pitch the Cradle or bottom the Cradle. Sure. Well, now I feel better about not doing that. I'm gonna run this into days. Okay, that's fine. Waste probably the Bayou. Yep. The ideal card here is probably a one drop. Ashen, you shall receive. We're shields down. I actually think we just hold the endurance. I think they can't beat us fair. White of the Reliquary. That's actually kind of annoying that they have Bowmasters here. Otherwise, that Wasteland is gonna. Yeah, I think. Do we want to evoke first? That's fine. It's possibly wrong to evoke the endurance there, but um, I didn't want to give them like more lands for free. Like then we can't develop our game plan right. What do we want here? Guess we just get a land just in case. Okay, we'll pass for now. Suddenly, that's a problem. What is going on here? Sure. We might lose the grind now because we have the white with the Bowmasters is kind of annoying. Well, that's a forced play. Wow, that's a hell of a draw. I think we're going on offense. The safekeeper is just obscene. Um, the draw is fine. I think they have to spend 2 mana. I think we're living with that. I think we're gonna kill them before it matters. Yeah. So that was way more dangerous than I thought. All right. I think what I've learned today is the Shepherd is kind of bad in this matchup. I don't think like if they don't have permission, it just kind of is a 1 mana 1/1. Like you need your cards to do stuff, and maybe it's okay to just play, max anti cheese. What I mean by that is like full set of nerds, full set of snuff outs. And it's up to our deck to just draw the right cards at the right time. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't like having to keep in the one snuff out, but it's like I have to like redo the mapping. Maybe we can afford to take it out once we clear the. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Hopefully, we sideboard it correctly. Sure. Ooh, they took a Thoughtseize, which means they want to protect their hand. I don't think I'm leading with Reclaimer because the hand just gets like so much lower. I'm just gonna play safely and see what happens. Oops, that's wrong. Yeah, 20 free spells would be pretty neat. Sure. Maybe there's another removal spell. Sure. There's another daze here. Very, very upset. This snuff house just looked awful, right? Like Mike's probably boarding out Tamios because that's not what this matchup is about. Force, maybe. They see our hand. Oh. Jesus. We can't beat that card. That was pretty rough. They had removal into the way you beat that is you just need more threats. And like I'm starting to think we just need more keen eyes. We're just like high density of threats. Um or you get the cheese play, right? Like another fair macabre because they go for it. That's an option too. But I'm like way off this at the moment. I could. I don't love Wasteland this matchup for what it's worth. Possible. Snowfall looked pretty bad there. So I didn't change it in time, but this is for fun anyways. We can keep track. I have to look at the Mike's mana base. Maybe waste would have been relevant there. Do I want to? We're on the play, so no, y'all are probably right. To be honest, maybe the wasteland's just better. I think my line here is probably like seize into reclaimer into like fetch land. I can see a scenario where, like, yeah, probably seize the reclaimer into fetch land. There's the aforementioned shepherd that is looked quite bad. Hmm. Yeah, it's still a hail mary. Like you have to have 4 mana, and assuming it resolves. And if we're assuming we're cutting shepherd for it, it's gonna be a lot less likely to resolve. I think I just like KC a lot better. What are they hiding here? Probably removal, to be honest. So two Bargoyes that I guess we have to deal with. Um, so the way to deal with that is probably a Wild Reliquary. Bowmaster, which is probably coming down next turn. Do we give them the Animate Den? Just take their Bowmasters, actually? Take away the removal? No, actually, that doesn't matter. If I take the removal, then they animate it, right? I guess if they animate it, it's a 0. Maybe don't give them the flexibility. I think if I play right, we probably win this game, but we'll see. The Bargo is quite annoying. Pass. There's two Bargoys. I'm trying to think what is our winning line here? Actually, let's do this. I think I get a creature here because the Bargors are bigger. Until I can clear the graveyards. Although that's starting to be pretty big too. Pass. What am I doing here? I can block with a Why the Reliquary, clear that. That becomes a 4/5. This is a 5/5. The bog here? Maybe. Interesting. Did he mess that up? I could have also pitched 2 Reclaimers. I don't really want to do that, but unless he was pitching the EE that he meant to grow the Bargorth later on. Sure. Okay, I guess I pitch the Safekeeper now? Yeah, probably. What am I getting here? Just a fetch land, I guess. They have Wasteland up, so I might have to double block that Bargorth. That is kind of annoying right now. Yeah. Unfortunately, what's it call it? Life is really busy. I know that's a bad excuse, but it's unfortunately the reality. I'm in the process of moving, so that's one thing going on. Do I play this right now? Is there a reason to? Maybe not. Yeah. Oh, where's my lair? It's gone. Okay, that was a mistake. I mean my talent gates. Sure. All right, now we're just dead. I felt like I definitely misplayed this game, but that's okay. But so did Mike, to be fair. So it's 2-2. Definitely feels like we did not get the most out of our deck, but the deck also seems now like in hindsight misbuilt. This looks horrendous, or looked horrendous. I think we need some kind of end game because of Bargoy. And I know I had Grist before, or Kenai. Maybe Kenai is just the best option because you like nuke their yard and then, but it's also good on offense, one way or the other. Grist is also good, so I guess it depends. We're just dead. All right, 2-2, I guess. 2-2. I'm gonna ask Mike if he wants to chit chat for a little bit. All right, I'll put on my headset. Yo, Mike, how's it going? Can you hear me? Oh, maybe you can't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
How's it going?
Good, good. I think we got some pretty conclusive testing about what cards are good and what cards are not. What do you think? Or I don't know from your side.
I mean, Entomb and Barrowgoyf are kind of the ways that I win games, and Barrowgoyf needs to be early with some removal or backup, and Entomb Reanimate kind of the same way.
I would agree with that. That was the sense on my impression too, and in particular, I really miss Grist because like I just can't answer or I can't win these stalled out games if you have a Bargoy, or I have a harder time.
Yeah, it feels like the thing with Tameo is I don't have enough removal to support Tameo. I feel like Tameo on paper could be okay. You have snuff outs, but also you just have all of your two drops pressure Tameo pretty well against me, which makes it kind of awkward, right? So like not only do I have to have Tameo plus Brainstorm
Mhm.
to do it fast enough to not get overrun, but then also Tameo just gets pressured by all your two drops that I kind of some of them I want to let resolve or some of them I have to remove anyway. So it feels like Tameo is just kind of a waste of a card in a lot of spots.
Mhm.
Um, unless if I went turn one Tameo, like I almost did it, but you drew the Thought Seize the one game. I had Tameo or you drew the snuff out, or you had the snuff out. I don't remember if you drew it or had it, but I played turn one Tameo. You had land snuff out. I had Daze Brainstorm to protect and flip Tameo, and then I had another Daze and a Fatal Push in my hand. So like I had enough to hold Tameo that game, but it just wasn't the snuff out on her like made it really awkward. So I boarded out all my blue creatures. I had no Murktides and I had no Tamios because I figure if I'm cutting my Tamios, I might as well give you no targets for snuff out.
Fair enough. I actually bored it down to one snuff out, and the chat actually mentioned that card should have just been Wasteland probably. So it was dead that one game. So to me, the interesting thing is I kind of agree with that logic. If you're gonna board out Tamios, Murktide is kind of dicey, and especially since I can beat Murktide anyways. Like there are certain hands that can beat it even without removal. So that
Yeah.
makes sense to me. on my side, besides missing, let's just say, I only played one Kenai, but uh, besides the Grist, I think the card that looked pretty bad to me is Allosaurus Shepherd. Like that's just like a dead 1/1. Like I don't know how you felt, but
I mean, to be fair, the game that you played, Allosaurus Shepherd, I had double four or triple force days in my hand. I got to force a snuff out, but it was pretty annoying in one of the games, I will say. But yeah, by and large, it was not
it's
great. I think that that also I think you had natural Kenai one game where I had Entomb Reanimate in my hand,
mhm,
and I thought seized to clear the way, and then you just like played natural Kenai or whatever,
mhm.
and I even think I had days protection for it. So I do think Kenai is like pretty annoying. And personally, I've been touting this a lot. So free information to anybody who is trying to beat Blue Black Reanimator. I think Fairy Macabre is just the best you can do against Reanimator, because it's just the thing is your deck is full of counter spells, and thought seizes are pressured already in almost every matchup, this matchup included. And in reality, I don't even really want to have thought seizes in against you. I would like to board down on them, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I just can't afford to do that against any Fairy Macabre because I can't beat Fairy Macabre without thought seize. So I feel like Fairy Macabre is another good hedge, but I think maybe with Kenai you just don't need it. But
I
yeah, it's hard to say.
my personal feel is it. I played the one fairy and it got the blowout that one game that I that otherwise you
Yeah.
clear the way. So I mean I totally agree with that. I think it depends. I think if you're cut or if the cradle player is you know taxed on slots, right? I think either way is fine. Obviously, fair is a little bit more narrower, but it does hedge against the I think you said you hit it on the nail, right? Like the way I think you win is turn two into reanimate or animate dead. There's a route to win with Bargoyfs in the late game, but I think if I built my deck correctly, that is not impossible, but not as preferred as the first way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it really depends on kind of the dynamic of how you expect the games to play out, right? Like I have enough removal that I can feasibly curve like two removal spells in a daze or two removal spells in a force into a Barrogoyf, and I think that you'll have few enough resources on the board that the Goyf can take over the game. But I think that the bigger problem is between um Thoughtseize, Reclaimer, etc. When I'm on the draw, Endurance, you just have a lot of different ways of interacting with the combo when I'm on the draw. And that's the reason that I think Barrogoyfs are better than, like, I boarded out Brazen Borrowers, I boarded out Tamios, and I boarded out
Yeah,
Murktide
borrowers.
Regents. And I just feel like I think that I can't afford to rely on Entomb Reanimate against you on the draw between, like I said, Thought Your Graveyard Hate Creatures and stuff. I
Mhm.
just have to put too much together properly to assume it's going to work. Usually I find that a couple removal spells, kind of what worked that last game, is I'd rather just overload on removal spells and hope that I'm like roughly even on board when I play a Barrogoyf or something against you, and
Mhm.
then hope that you can't keep up. You have to basically top deck like good card after good card to get ahead of the Barrogoyf
Mhm.
before it just takes over the game.
Yeah, I think the alternative too is just like if I'm not that impressed with Shepard, I could keep natural order, but that just seems like a trap because there's some games that are very like low resource games, if that makes sense. I think to me the easiest adjustment that I should probably make and is probably just playing more Keen Eyes. Like because it's already a solid card against majority of matchups.
Yeah, I think when that deck played way more Keen Eyes, it was definitely scarier. And I
Yeah.
mean, that matchup doesn't feel like, it feels like if you have your deck built in the right way, it shouldn't feel as close as that felt. I felt like every single match I had a potential to win. Like I got blown out by the one of fairy, right?
Mhm.
Which happens. It is what it is. I got blown out by like a natural Kenai in your hand when I had Entomb Reanimate. I'm not saying that that can't happen, but I'm just saying they were all like within reason of winnable, and it feels like you should feel fairly ahead given how your deck works on paper.
No, I agree. I think it's like I tweeted out, right? I think did we give up too much margin in the matchup? I would lean towards yes, right? Like based on the testing we just did because
Yeah.
part of the reason I think to play Cradle or just any green deck is you're just naturally good against graveyard decks. Like between crop rotation, reclaimer, wide of the reliquary, keen eye, green sun. Like green decks have the tools to beat graveyard decks. I wouldn't say all the time, but at least with reasonable consistency, if that makes sense. So leaning into the strengths is kind of I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that the green decks are one of the harder matchups, and again, that's why I said specifically when they have Macabre. But I think your decks also with Keen Eye is fine. But like any of the Maverick style decks or like land style decks or any of those green decks that also choose to play something like Fairy Macabre, I you can struggle against, right? I think your deck, like I said, doesn't necessarily need Fairy Macabre, but I agree that having like Keen Eyes or something, the reason to play that deck, to your point, is to be good against the tempo decks. And then uh honestly, it's cool that you get to be good against the Reanimator deck too, because it falls in the same kind of tempo, but you have the graveyard covered.
Tempo, but yeah, for sure. Like it's the overlap between and to be honest, to be fair, also the Reanimator deck right now, the way it's built is it's to me a tempo deck first and a Reanimator deck. I wouldn't say second, but that's the plan 1.5. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think your openers dictate a lot of that, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
plenty of openers that are just like, I'm just going to be a reanimator. But for sure, I think Tameo is on its own such a strong card that any deck that plays Tameo and cantrips in it is like by default, plus like some counter spells or whatever, is by default a very good tempo deck. And I think that that's kind of the argument for any of these hybrid style decks is you had Psychic Frog before this, you had Grief before that, right? Like it's like how strong are your tempo cards, and when you can rely on like these decks don't even have to play Bowmaster in them. And I have one in the main, one in the side, but like the decks don't even have to play Bowmaster in them in terms of like scrapping out tempo because Tameo alone can like solo matchups.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I actually think Bowmasters. I'm obviously biased, but I think that card is good against the like the cutter style decks. I don't love it against like even me personally, because it's a two
Yeah, I
mana.
have it in on the play. I think on the draw it's worse, but on the play, I think, like I said, especially if I'm going towards Barrow, if I want to trade like Fatal Push into
Yeah.
Bowmaster into like I want that's how I want to trade anyway.
Yeah, you pretty much just want to clear the way for Bargo. Obviously, there's counterplay, like I have Thoughtseize and whatnot, but that all makes sense. I think one thing you brought up was Tameo. I think these creature based decks, whether it be energy or this deck, one of the strengths is especially this deck because you're naturally good against the graveyard side as well. Is this deck lines up very well against Tameo, probably both sides, which not a lot of decks can say, and which is why
Yeah.
you boarded it out, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Well, and also, like I said, just the way that your deck operates and the way the creature deck operates, they pressure the backside better than most decks.
Hmm.
Most decks have like one threat that if I can deal with, I can force it, I can brazen borrow it or something
Hmm.
that buys me enough time to protect the Tameo.
Hmm.
But you can't protect the Tameo super well against like go wide, bigger creature decks like yours does.
Hmm.
Even the 3/4 reclaimers can keep Tameo from ulting. And to your point, minusing on a Tameo, it's just gonna die. So like, do you really want to flip a Tameo just to get one minus and then let it die? Like, is that what you want? Whereas against some other decks, again, if you answer their one threat in play or counter their one threat, the minus doesn't necessarily kill Tameo, where it does against you pretty much every time, right? So I agree. I think that there's a lot that goes into that, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's just not reliable. Like Tameo absolutely could steal some games against you, but it's just not reliable.
For sure. No, I agree with that. Like if you don't have the brainstorm, like spending two
It's
mana,
too
I mentioned
slow.
this to chat as well, is
Yeah.
way too slow, and
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
against a just vomit your hand kind of deck like this one, or just any of these creature style decks in general. Actually, that brings me to the next point. Did you or are you playing any sweepers? Because something like a toxic deluge is devastating against me if the person has it.
Yeah, I'm not, and I think most of the reason is because I think that You for that to happen, I feel like energy and your deck would have to be like 10% of the meta.
No, I agree
Because
with
I
that.
think
Yeah.
that and I think that like energy and your deck are like the only two decks that I would want it against. Even any of the other like Mavericky style decks or depths decks or anything, I wouldn't even really want a sweeper against. So I think basically I would have to just expect a lot of energy and a lot of your deck for that to be something that I would even probably consider.
No, that makes a lot of sense because sweepers are not even like great against the Nadu decks because it's not really a creature deck. It's like A plus B deck, right?
Yeah, to your point, I want to race Nadu with Reanimate. They're bad against Reanimator, right? Like that's one of their weaknesses is like the actual Entomb Reanimate thing. You
Hmm.
saw that I had a Fatal Push in my hand, not a Entomb, and then I had the Consign. But you saw like Consign can beat like Bajuka Bog, Consign can beat some different things like that. So one of the interesting things is Endurance out of the Nadu deck can be beat by Consign, right? So like between discard spells and consigns, you actually have a lot of their graveyard hate covered.
Hmm.
And then they have like random artifact graveyard hate, which comes sometimes off Urza Saga, sometimes it just comes off of like casting it. But discard consigns and counter spells deal with all of their graveyard hate unless they're choosing to play a million fairies. And I think that Nadu playing a million fairies is actually a little bit scarier, but most of them are playing like one or two fairies right now. And you like they're a good reanimator hand just beats them a lot of the time, I feel like.
Oh, interesting. So that is like news to me because uh the people I've seen, I don't think I didn't interact with them one on one, but I think people thought or people I've seen said that Nadu they feel good against Reanimator, but you feel the opposite. You feel good against the Nadu decks.
I think the breakfast ones I feel good against, and then the mid-range ones just heavily depends on how much they care and what they're like I said, if they have three fairies in their board, then it can be a little bit rough. But if they don't have three fairies in their board, I feel pretty okay into that matchup. Um, but again, anything can go both ways. You also can flip a Tameo against them, and they're not very good at pressuring it. So if you flip a fast Tameo against them, usually you can ult it before the game's over.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously, post board with five pieces of removal, it buys you a lot of time to do something like that. So Tameo is also very good in that matchup.
So when you said five removal, I'm assuming four push plus the one.
Three push, two triumph.
Got it. Okay. I was gonna ask something.
Well, and then also three brazen bars if I want to leave some of those in, which depending on the matchup, sometimes I do.
I feel like against Nadu, probably not, right?
No, 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 no. They don't play enough permanent based hate. Like the decks that play ley lines, like they're for ley lines and they're
Hmm.
for like Murktide's post board if you're trying to like mirror tempo. Like
Hmm.
that's like mostly what they're there for.
I did remember something. How do you feel about Safekeeper? Like from your side,
It's
from your
very
perspective.
annoying. I mean, like it's one of the most annoying, especially main like game one, where it's like there's one bowmaster and then there's two brazen bars. Like if I don't have a counter spell immediately, for any of your graveyard hate cards, basically the only things I can dig for are Murktide or double entomb, double reanimate,
Hmm.
or like Brazen Bar or Bowmaster, and that cuts off some of my outs.
Hmm.
So that's it for me, it's annoying because you have graveyard hate creatures that if I don't counter on the stack and there's a safekeeper in play, I just am digging for next to nothing.
No, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
like game one specifically.
Yeah, that
I think
makes.
post board I bring in five removal spells, right? So like it's obviously fine there too.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I think this fourth game right here where I was on the draw, but I still won game one, and I mentioned to chat at one point like because I think I had the safekeeper in play, and and literally as I said it, I said I think he has zero outs with the safekeeper and the keen eye in play, and then you conceded right after that. So that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I especially with Kenai, the problem is if you have any graveyard hate creature plus Kenai or
Hmm.
plus Safekeeper, I think it leaves me very, very like that's the other reason for Barogoyf is there's situations where you just leave me in a spot to where the only way I win is like Barogoyf pressure into you because you've assembled something that's not reasonable for me like get out of in time. But I will say there are certain times where you can get away with finding another fat creature and finding a second reanimate if I can buy myself a little bit of time, because you do only have one bog to deal with my stuff.
Yeah, so that is one thing that unfortunately I there's a solution to it, but not really. So obviously, from a strategic standpoint, if you've been able to or see that, there was one game I drew the bog, right, or if you can
Yeah.
force me into bogging early, that's a huge
Well,
strategic
that's what I
advantage.
did with the. That's what I did when you blocked with the thing, and then I consigned it. I had Entomb in my hand and something else, and
Mhm.
I was ultimately just trying to buy out that bog with an attack that I assumed you would bog me to make the trade profitable for you.
Right, right, right. No, that makes sense. And I think, 2-2. Now, granted, obviously, full disclosure, chat. Mike is probably, I don't know, the best reanimator player right now. Maybe, at, of course, I'm biased because you're my friend, but 2-2 from my perspective, even against maybe the best reanimator player right now, is kind of not acceptable. I think for this deck that is supposed to just prey on the reanimator decks. So I do think Kenai is probably the swap for Alex or Shepard. At least base. Do you see my screen, by the way?
Yeah,
I think going forward, I think the snuff outs are just too good right now in the metagame. As ironic as that sounds, because obviously it's not good against Entomb, but uh I did a let me show my screen real quick. I did a quick search on MTG Goldfish, and let's just say the last 14 days. Okay. Against Reanimator, it's live. Moon Stompy, it's insane. You can see my screen, right?
yeah, yeah,
Breakfast, insane. Demir Tempo, live, maybe not insane, but live. Live here against Fleshraker, insane, insane, insane. Uh, Not applicable. Insane. Uh, Very fringe hitting the token. Even the Beanstalk deck, you can hit Murktide. The Jeskai decks, you can hit Tamio or the just turn off their Flame of Anor, so to speak, right? Good against Doomsday, good against here. So pretty much live against the whole field, which is why I think Snuff Out's like
and
insane
and I
right now.
think if you look at your matchups that are tough, something like Nadu, where you have an out to it, is cool.
Mhm.
Something like some of the breakfast combo decks that can be like a little bit quick with, again, that's still a Nadu deck, but I feel like it's very good in spots where you don't get a lot of free spells besides endurance. So like having a second free spell in removal and endurance
Mhm.
gives you like two ways to get ahead in a game,
Mhm.
where otherwise you're just like spending mana to cast your spells, which a lot of other decks between days, force of will, whatever, get to kind of cheat on their mana.
Mhm.
And that's a way that you get to cheat on your mana a little bit too. But I also think just the format's so Tameo centric that it's always going to be pretty good when you look at like a good chunk of the decks play Tameo in them, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of the decks that you said it's insane against play Tameo.
For sure, for sure. I think the other thing that you kind of hinted at, uh I which I completely agree with, is the harder matchups, which tend to be the ones where endurance, in general, this has been true for years now. The harder matchups for Cradle are the ones where endurance is not very good, and something like energy where endurance just looks laughable.
Yeah, or Eldrazi even, right? Like,
Or Eldrazi, right? Where endurance just okay, 3 mana, 3/4, like not like by fire design, kind of embarrassing, right? But Snuff Out is just insane against a lot of these matches where endurance is bad.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time. Shout out to Mike, by the way. It's East Coast right now. It's almost 2 o'clock over there, so I don't want to keep you from sleeping. But anything you want to either shout out or plug, I can do that right now. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, well, the only thing I want to shout out is I just think that I'm taking any chance I get to just say like there's plenty of decks that are playable, and I think that uh, Newton's a really cool person to watch, but just have the right amount of respect and test like the testing that I just did against Newton. like do that type of testing with the decks that you want to play. But I think that it's showing. Obviously, Tamio is like very, very good and probably will not be around come whenever the actual next real BNR is. But like, think about decks and don't just assume that things aren't good because you haven't. Because everybody else is playing something. So be like Newton, be like other people who are playing these other cool decks. Because I think if you play the right amount of respect, and I'll give you a hint, play Fairy Macabre in most of your sideboards and you'll have a much better Reanimator matchup than you feel like you have right now. And yeah, that's the big thing. I think Legacy's relatively fun. Obviously, Tameo and some of the other cards probably aren't going to be around for that much longer, but yeah, do practice targeted testing. So
No, I completely agree with that. I specifically asked Mike. Well, Mike brought it up with me, so kudos to him. But one of the reasons why I was excited to do this with Mike was because again, I have a lot of respect for Mike as a player and just his especially since his background is a combo background, which is I guess similar to mine. Uh, in general, I don't want to generalize, overgeneralize, or stereotype, but I've found the sequencing from dedicated combo players to be a little bit ahead of players who play more fair decks, if that makes sense. Not to judge or anything, but in general, that I found that to be the case.
yeah, that makes sense. And I think that that's like Legacy is very fast right now, right? With flipping Tamios, with all this other stuff, that it really tests your decision making and your sequencing because you don't get another chance, right? If you sequence one thing wrong or you like make one wrong decision early in the game, you get punished very hard for it, right? You get Nadu'd or you get Entomb Reanimated or something like that. So like even just understanding whether you need to fetch basics, non-basics, whether you need to thought seize on one or you can lead on a Tameo, like there's so many decisions in the first ish to second turn that dictate the whole pace of a game, and you just have to get really good at understanding how that lines up. You look at like the play where I attacked and you bogged me. I of course knew you were going to bog me, right? That's why I did that, because I wanted to open that up. But there's a lot of ways that you can walk people into different things that if you can understand them a little bit better, you'll get a lot of edges when you play. So
No, that's a great point. Like there's a little bit of gamesmanship too, where like you kind of have to assume if your opponent's gonna know the trap that you're setting for them, if that makes sense. So I had one instance where I tapped out too, and I had a fair macabre in hand, and then you conceded the match because I was gonna Talon Gates or something. But if you went for the entomb that line, you didn't see it from your perspective because it didn't come to that. But I did have a fairy that I had top decked, and then I was trying to set that up too.
yeah, exactly. And I think that that's like there's plenty of games where you can look at things and you can play well and you can set a trap. I think I had a game earlier where there was a Tameo on 8 that I was
Hmm.
playing against, and I had an Entomb in my hand, and I end stepped on my opponent's turn an Entomb to draw out a Force of Will, and then I got to triumph their Tameo, right? The Entomb meant nothing, but their Tameo on 8 ends the game, but casting something like Entomb is a threatening card. So like just understanding how your cards interact and where you can buy those, like that value, is one of the things that people, they look at like how an interaction plays out. They don't necessarily look at from their opponent's perspective what makes sense here, right? Like when you cycle away your Cradle and you don't go get another Cradle, I 100% knew the last card in your hand was a Gaia's Cradle, right? You just have to get good at understanding some of these different things, and it helps a lot with not getting punished so hard in a format that's really fast.
Yeah, for sure. I think that doesn't that isn't spotlighted enough. But knowing how your opponent's deck works is a huge advantage in when you're playing heads up against somebody. So for instance, I've always mentioned the scariest pilots for me are always the ones who understand my deck more. So obviously, if I'm playing against, I mean, I would just throw out his name, Reed Duke or something, right? I don't think he understands his deck because he doesn't play Legacy at the moment. But I would be much more afraid to play against you because I think you have a closer pulse
Well,
on my deck.
Yeah, and I'll give you a really good example, right? There was a time where you had a white of the reliquary and you fetched a land at end step, and I killed the white in response to the fetch land, so you couldn't protect it with Dryad Arbor, right?
Mhm.
Like if you just don't realize that that's how your deck works and you let you fetch, you now no longer can kill that white.
For sure, exactly. Okay, so I don't have any other questions on my end. Obviously you're a big champion of fairy. I agree with that. Cage is decent, but it's telegraphs. They can play around it. Um, anything you want to add, or I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, thanks for having me.
Okay. Oh, let me plug your socials. Or do you want to type it here in chat? I don't know if you're in chat or not. Also, your podcast.
Yeah, Legacy Small Talk podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. It's me, Romario, and Jared. We're going to be at Eternal Weekend giving out stickers. Come find us, and you can find me on X and Blue Sky at Eureka22422 underscore MTG. So appreciate it. Thanks, Newton.
All right. Here is in chat Mike's link tree. You can find all his stuff there. Do you leave it in tomb? A question from person, by the way. Do you leave entomb in the mirror?
No, I cut them all.
Okay, there you go. No soup 42, straight from the horse's mouth. All right. With that said, I will raid now. Thank you, Mike, for hanging out.
Yes, yeah.